I'm joined by Anthony Scaramucci. Anthony, this meltdown by Donald Trump. I mean, he's posting that Vice President Kamala Harris's crowds are AI.
Right.
He's out there giving these speeches where he
Right.
continues to talk about Hannibal Lecter. He's saying
Right.
that Vice President Kamala Harris turned black, and he's like really leaning in to that message. This is a meltdown. Did you predict it would be this bad?
Well, I mean, if Joe Biden didn't leave the race, then I would have said, he had the leg up. But now that Kamala Harris is in the race, no, I didn't think it would be this bad. I thought he would get rocked by her. But I do think something else is happening. I just want to address this quickly. The maggots, who are the MAGA people like the Laura Loomers and the real full-on lunatics, are the look at the birth certificate. It says Caucasian on the birthday, some crazy stuff like that. So therefore, she, quote unquote, turned black. And by the way, I'm embarrassed that I'm actually bringing up that on your show, but a presidential candidate said that about the vice president. So that's the MAGA racist movement. And so Trump is now tapping into that because he's going to blow every racist dog whistle possible. The AI stuff is also from that movement. Some kid, flipped up his laptop and it showed her coming off a plane without a crowd, and then showed how they could make a crowd for her. And so Trump wanted his followers to know that his crowds are bigger than hers. One of the reasons why he's not out there right now is that he's worried about the crowd sizes. Her crowds are bigger than his. He's worried about that. The other thing he's worried about is his messaging sucks right now. And so he can't find the right word salad to address her. So his stuff is mean and nasty when he's talking about women not working. He wants to literally racially slur her, but he can't actually do that. So he calls her dumb. So that to me is a huge sign of racism because she's a very accomplished person. And so when he calls her stupid and incompetent, he's really blowing the racist dog whistle. So yeah, no, the guy's out of his mind. And I predict it's going to get worse.
Do you predict that he's going to drop out? It's
40%.
going to get so worse? Or what do you think about that? Because before we started this interview, you and I were talking about it, and you said to me, hey, what do you think the chances of him dropping out? I said, I think he's going to burn it down with him, the entire GOP. What's your theory on that?
All right, so I'm wearing this T-shirt in your honor, okay? This is, just so everybody knows, now, Ben was born in 1985, so he tried to rub that in. But if you were born in the 1960s like me, this is Chico's bail bonds. Okay, this was Walter Matthau and the legendary movie Bad News Bears. The Chico's bail bonds was the sponsor of the Bad News Bears. And I'm wearing the bail bond thing because I think Trump is in trouble. He's getting sentenced in September. He'll probably be under house arrest. Or, who the hell knows? He may have to spend some time in jail, not during the campaign, of course, but after the campaign, which will only torque things up. And so I do think there's a 40% chance he drops out. People say, oh, you're crazy, blah, blah, blah. Remember we said that Biden was going to come out of the race and Vice President Harris was going to replace her. I was crazy to say that. But the reason why I'm not crazy to say this is Trump likes three things. Don't ever forget this. He likes money, he likes attention, and he likes his personal freedom, meaning he doesn't want to go to jail. He's a big baby, which is why he has all that hyper masculinity and all that bullying, tough guy intimidation, enemies lists, all the stupid stuff that small penis people have. And so he doesn't want to go to jail, trust me. So if he sees himself really dropping in the polls and there's a way to cut himself a deal that avoids jail, he'll fake an illness and he'll see if he can slide a Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis into the top of the ticket. Hopefully you'll ask me about Vance because that's been literally the biggest disaster in vice presidential selection history. I mean, you can't be any worse than this guy.
New photos of J.D. Vance cross-dressing at Yale Law School emerged. There's that photo. I think there are a few others. There's also a photo of him with a hammer and sickle wearing a Soviet Union shirt. Who is this guy? The thing is that if he wanted to be who he really is, we would have fought for his freedoms to be the J.D. Vance that he was, but he's created 3 names for himself, 4 identities, and now tries to take away our freedom. The worst VP pick in history, Anthony Scaramucci?
mean, listen, I mean, I don't want to pick on the guy's sexual orientation. I mean, listen, I don't know, but sometimes people that have sexual orientations are trying to hide them. And so they create an overbite of the opposite thing, And I'm not a psychiatrist or anything like that, but this guy's a nut job. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to see that this guy's a nut job. And so a little more exposure, a little more press exposure. He's a smart guy. He's a well-read guy, but you'll be able to blow holes in this guy's personality. He's dull. I mean, JD, I think, is like just dull Vance. But this was a true disaster for Donald Trump because remember, Trump was trying to pick somebody that was going to cause him no harm so he could race off and win the presidency and take all the credit. If he picked Nikki Haley, the race would be super, super close. Maybe who knows? Maybe he'd even win the race. But he didn't pick Nikki Haley because Nikki Haley, he's such a narcissist. He didn't want to give her any credit for potentially winning. You see what I'm saying? So who knows? I don't know. You don't know. But I think J.D. Vance is a nut job. If he's going to get rid of him, which I got that also at 40%. 40% he drops out. 40% he gets rid of J.D. And he will get rid of J.D. Vance after the Democratic National Convention. Why? Well, he wants to Bigfoot them from an attention point of view. And so he'll wait until their convention's over. Then he'll announce that he swapped out J.D. Vance. It's The Apprentice. It's a reality show. Not a big deal. The news cycle changes quickly. J.D. Vance will be history. He'll slot somebody else in. The question is who. But again, he may not do that because he's, it looks to his poor decision making. But I think it's at least 40%.
Look, J.D. Vance did a press tour over the weekend where one of his main messages were Democrats are engaging in name calling and schoolyard bullying during the campaign, and he's calling on them to stop the bullying. He says bullying should be nowhere in a campaign. For real, that's what they're going with.
All right, look, I'm really trying to. I'm trying not to laugh, but I mean, look, come on, it's crazy. So everybody's a little Marco. We have Lion Ted Cruz. We've got Sleepy Joe Biden. But I got called weird. I got my feelings hurt. I'm running for the vice presidency. It's sort of crazy. They upended. Trump did a good job of upending political norms. And so there's no going back as long as there is a Donald Trump. So I do predict that we'll defeat Donald Trump in the fall. It will end Trumpism. There will be a weird reformation it'll almost be like The Fly. I never saw that movie. I know you're so young and you'd like to rub it in on me, but there was a movie with Jeff Goldblum called The Fly in 1985, the year of your birth, where he merged with The Fly. And so there's a right-wing anarcho-Christian movement that after Trump loses, it'll merge with some form of MAGA-ism, and it'll create an even more perverse, weird thing. And hopefully we'll beat that. Hopefully there'll be a center-right coalition that's rebirthed, that knocks those people to the wayside because they've waylaid Lincoln's great party. I mean, it's unrecognizable what they did to the Republican Party. But one good thing about what they've done is that, since Lara Trump took over the Republican Party, they closed all the field offices. So this is a get out the vote election. And so the Democrats are going to be heavily personneled in the swing states where the Republicans are going to be underrepresented. I think that's also a good sign for Vice President Harris.
Tell us about the business community right now. You speak to business leaders a lot. Are you seeing, a change from where they were a few months ago? Tell us about that.
Yes. So I'm going to predict it on your show that there will be retractions of endorsements. I predict that there are several Silicon Valley people. I don't think Vice President Harris is going to say anything pro-crypto until after the convention, but I predict that she will signal to the crypto community that she's going to be more moderate and more balanced than Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren. And if that happens, there will be several venture capitalists in Silicon Valley that will flip and say, okay, we got the Trump thing wrong. And also remember, there's a tremendous amount of brilliant women in business that are disgusted by the endorsements that some of these executives have made of Donald Trump. So watch how a lot of these people will pull back. I would just ask you to do something if you don't mind. There's a guy by the name of Yarvin. He's a political philosopher, and his acolytes are people like Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance. He's calling for a monarchical system, an aristocratic system in America. He wants to end the democracy. Thiel has said that the democracy is messy and perhaps obsolete. J.D. Vance believes this, of course. And so I'm just hoping that the media will key off of that and start asking him questions related to his closeness to Yarvin, the political philosopher who wants to end the democracy and also wants to move America. These are not my words, but it's their words. We are looking forward to a post-constitutional America. So I'm not looking forward to that. I love America. I love the checks and balances of our system. I love the pluralism of our democracy. I want average people, and I want people who I grew up with, Ben, that had no money to live in an aspirational America that can achieve their dreams. What J.D. Vance wants and what those guys want that are supporting Donald Trump is they want an oligarchic control over America. Okay, so they want to liquidate the two other branches of the government, and they want a oligarchic sort of system where they do very well. The laws benefit them and benefit their big businesses, and they have little regard for smaller individuals in the state. And so I want to fight against that with every fiber of my body. We don't need to be run by billionaire know-it-alls, wise-ass, smart-ass, people who got their asses kicked in high school. Okay, don't we need to be run by those people? We need to be run by ourselves. We need to govern ourselves. We're very capable of doing that. We have a good nose. Lincoln said, some of these dummies in America think they're smarter than the other Americans. I think they know better. But what Lincoln said about America is we have a very good nose. We can smell a rotting cadaver in our basement, was the quote from Abraham Lincoln. And by the way, we can do that. And now that we have a good choice, Vice President Harris versus the oldest person to be ever nominated for the U.S. presidency, a doddering fool who's probably on the border of dementia, we have a good comparison and contrast, and I think we can beat him in November.
Speaking about a rotting cadaver, one of the famous interviews you and I did together, you talked about Kevin McCarthy and that how you knew him, that you knew him originally as someone who had aspirations, who was actually full of life and joy originally, but how MAGA had sucked the joy out of him and he became a miserable person. You could literally see that on his physical appearance.
I said he started out with him and I are the same age. He looks 500 years old. You know, Ted Cruz looks like Grandpa Muntz. I mean, these guys get destroyed because they're selling their soul to Donald Trump. But Kevin McCarthy will go down as one of the great cowards in political history. And so people will look back on McCarthy. He's the anti-Lincoln. He was the Speaker of the House at the time of an insurrection. And so I just want you to imagine, because you and I grew up out on Long Island. I'm an Italian kid from Long Island. Just want you to imagine somebody coming into your house like Donald Trump. So he's the Speaker of the House, and Donald Trump foments an insurrection on literally the guy's house, and they come in and ransack the house. And this coward runs down to Mar-a-Lago to have a photo op with him. Okay, all he had to do was punch him lights out through the ropes. He could have gone to Pelosi, McConnell, Schumer, and said, "Okay, listen, I'm the head of the Republican Party now. I've had enough of this asshole. We're going to impeach him in the House. We're going to convict him in the Senate. He's gone from the political system. We're going to totally disgrace this moron." Okay, and he would have scared the living daylights out of everybody and would have probably been the Republican nominee for president right now. But he couldn't do it. He's got the spine of a jellyfish. He's a very, very weak guy. And he let Trump run over him at a time when we needed somebody to backstop the United States. And by the way, these guys hate this guy. Okay, let's just be on the record. McCarthy hates him. Lindsey Graham hates him. Ted Cruz hates him. You pick a Republican senator, name his name, I'll tell you the guy hates him. Okay, but they sit there and they tolerate him because they fear him. And some political consultant got in their ear and said, "Oh, you got to be careful. Say something bad about Trump, you're going to get primary to your right. You're going to lose your seat of power." Who gives a shit? You should be saying the truth about this guy, even if it costs you your job. What difference does it make? Now you're just like another slime ball, spineless politician. Jack Kennedy wrote a book called The Profiles in Courage. You and I should be giving out the Kevin McCarthy annual cowardice award to some of these losers that have supported Donald Trump, even though they know how bad he is.
Vice President Kamala Harris, Governor Walz, talking about bringing joy back to politics, protecting people's freedoms. They smile when they talk. It's about hope, a winning message, Anthony?
I think it is a winning message. I think the style is there. If I were offering them any advice, not that they would take it from me, but I would recommend to the vice president, it's now time to give an interview. You've been the presumptive nominee for 21 days. I think it was a totally very smart thing not to give any interviews. Get your feet on the ground, get used to this sort of intensity of this spotlight. But now I think it's time to sit for some interviews, and they can either do it jointly or she can do it solo. I don't know a lot about Governor Walz. I don't know a lot of people that I'm close to in the Democratic Party that really had a closeness to him. But it seems like his life story is terrific. I did say on my podcast, he's one of the few vice presidential candidates in history that could go on ESPN College Game Day and probably give you great color commentation on all the players. So this is a very likable guy. And I think he has a good record. And of course, Donald Trump is on record praising him. And it makes it hard to really shoot at him. Now these nut jobs, right? So they're trying to go after him. They're trying to see, because he was a high school football coach, if there's some type of deviancy in his background, these nut jobs. You see what I mean? And that's projecting on their part, because, there's a lot of deviancy in their backgrounds.
Anthony Scaramucci, the podcast is called The Rest is Politics US. Check it out wherever podcasts are available.
Are we going to have a Kevin McCarthy Cowardice Award for some of these people? I just thrown it out there. Maybe we could have a joint award and have a ceremony. And
you know what? People have been asking us that we host an award show like that. And maybe you want to think about co-hosting.
I would like to. If we're hosting an award show, I want to be one of the presenters. Like a guy comes out and he says the award for spineless jackass of the Republican Party.
You're going to have to wear a tux, though. No Chico's bail bonds.
I'll wear a tux, but there'll be like three guys. They'll say the award for spineless jackass of the Republican Party. The nominees are Kevin McCarthy, and Kevin McCarthy. And the winner is Kevin McCarthy.
I love that. And maybe if you have his number, you can give him a call live, see if he picks up the phone.
I got his number. Trust me. I gave the guy a lot of money. That's why I'm so disappointed in the guy.
Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million subscribers. Anthony Scaramucci, a pleasure.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.